So Hot Toys recently announced their Punisher figure for One Last Kill, and I gotta say, it looks pretty sick. Never mind, we got Hot Toys Punisher at home. For this project, I decided instead of putting all that money into one figure, I would take it and spend it on materials to make two. That's right, we're gonna be making Frank Castle and the Punisher from One Last Kill. And I bought so much stuff to bring my vision to life. First, let's take a quick look at the 3D files I'll be using for this project. As always, they'll be linked in the description in case you guys want to make your own versions. Now, I wanted them both to have neutral and yelling heads, but I couldn't find those files anywhere, so I had to use this other Punisher head to customize my own. Sure, it may have looked cursed while I was doing it, but by the end, I ended up with exactly what I needed. I also decided to give them a diorama backdrop, so I bought this armory kit to get them ready for war. And since we're making an armory, we'll need
guns. Lots of guns.
Which is why I spent a stupid amount of money on gun model kits, gun parts, and even more guns. Also this chair, in case it gets tired and wants to take a quick nap.
Dude, this motherfucker takes naps. I don't trust people to take naps, dude.
Low-key, I did go a bit overboard with all the stuff I bought. Once you fall into the rabbit hole of plastic gun models and soldier accessories, it's hard to get out of it. I did buy some more stuff, but we'll leave that for the Punisher custom. Today, we'll be focusing on Frank Castle and what he wears for the majority of the runtime, which is an olive hoodie and some jeans that get progressively more fucked up as the episode goes on. The outfit I was able to find is pretty good, I just gotta tweak the colors and the weathering a bit to make it more screen accurate. And to do that, I bought this fabric dye, which did not end up working at all. Honestly, I'm not really sure what went wrong here. I don't know if these materials just can't be dyed or if I had the wrong dye, but I spent about an hour stirring each of these and they came out the exact same color they went in. I could have cut this whole part out of the video, but I feel comfort in sharing my misery with you all, so watch me fail in real time. I guess I'll have to figure something else out later, but for now, let's get to printing all the pieces out. Starting with the heads, which took not one, not two, not three, but 4 tries to get the size right. Man, I'm just trash at everything today, I guess. The armory also got printed out, but we'll need to do a bit of sanding to get all the pegs to fit nicely, so let's get to work. This was pretty much the only prep work needed for this figure, so now we can just move right into painting. As always, the first step is to prime. Once that's done, we'll tackle the armory first, which gets a base coat of black all over. This would have been much quicker with a spray can, but I was way too cheap and lazy to go grab one, so instead I'll spend about an hour doing it with my airbrush. Man, I could really use a nap after that.
You grown ass man. No, you don't fucking. Dude, yeah, it's like, dude, like, the whole world's moving while you're napping, bro. It's fucking terrible.
Now, this was a last-minute addition to the project. I wanted to give him a bloody baseball bat. We'll give it a base coat for now and then move on to the next pieces, which are the pegs for the armory. Now, they already come black, but it has like this frosty white residue on it that I can just paint right over. Now we can give the heads a zenithal highlight, which means painting it black and then spraying from above with white. It's been a while since I've had to paint realistic heads, so I was pretty nervous. But luckily I had all those extra heads to use for testing. And I'm glad I did, since it took quite a few tries to get the skin tone to match the body and still look like Jon Bernthal. I never put any paint on the actual heads I'm using until I knew it looked good. Using different shades of pinks and skin tones, I tried my best to layer it on and make each color stand out a bit. I still have quite a bit to learn, but I'm taking steps in the right direction at least. Now, I didn't film all the heads being painted, so for this little part, we'll have to look at the other heads for the Punisher instead. But it was the same exact process, just a different hairstyle. Here I actually messed up and made his eyebrows way too dark, so I had to go back over with some skin tone to knock the darkness back and make them look more natural. I'm still not great at eyebrows, but I think it looks much better than it did a second ago. Now we'll move on to the rest of the facial details, starting with painting the eyes and the inside of the mouth white. Now we can start laying down the different pinks we need, as well as touch up his teeth with more white. I even added some watered down red to the corners of his eyes to get that veiny look. Next we'll paint his pupils, which I do mostly off cam since they're so delicate. But I do usually leave it for last, which means now we just gotta add a little bit of blood and we can call the heads done. Time to finish what we started with the bat. First by using a sponge to add several layers of paint in various shades. Then we'll come back with a brown wash to hopefully create a wood grain effect. What you want to do is brush it on, leave it streaky and let it pool in a few areas. If you do it right, or get lucky like I did, you'll end up with a pretty neat wood grain texture. This was such a last minute addition to the project, yet it ended up being my favorite piece. But it's a bit too clean, so let's add a bit of henchman goo to it. There we go, now it's perfect. Now we gotta figure out what to do about his clothes. I couldn't dye them, so I guess I'll just have to paint them. And to do that, I had to make this little stand to prop them up. So let's make that hoodie darker and more worn out, shall we? The jeans are also not the right color, so let's use some black to correct that. I should have just done this in the first place, it was way quicker. With that done, now let's move on to painting the armory. The pegboard piece gets a coat of silver while the rest of it gets painted in gunmetal. Once again, a spray can would have been great help, but oh well. Now let's move on to the final step, which is to add some battle damage to his clothing. I wanted to give his clothes some cuts and scrapes to go along with his bloodied up head sculpt and baseball bat, to really make it feel like he fell into an AC unit of bad CGI, you know? It's simple enough to just take my knife and cut a few holes and then fill them with more red goo. And with that, we are done here, so let's go take a look at my custom Frank Castle from One Last Kill.
One batch, two batch, penny and dime.
So what did you guys think? Did I nail this look from the episode? It was definitely a lot of fun setting them up in poses for the photo shoot, as you can probably tell. Next week we'll take a look at the other half of this project, but for now I want to say thank you for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you like what I do around here and want to see more custom figures and statues. It really is a huge help, especially these days where the algorithm holds your fate in its hands. I'll see you guys soon in part 2 of this project.